Hi guys, it's Tiffany again, and today we're going to be talking about tarot cards. We're just going to do a brief history and an explanation. I will talk about my decks and the ones that I prefer, as well as how I use them. So if you're interested in that, then please just keep watching. Okay, first things first, just in case anybody asks, because I will be sipping tea during this video. My throat is kind of scratchy today. I'm drinking out of, yes, I'm holding this very awkwardly, but I'm drinking out of this cat mug. And the tea that I'm actually drinking is Sweet and Spicy by Good Earth. Looks like this. It's really good. It is sweet and spicy. It reminds me a little bit of like apple cinnamon without the apple cinnamon. But if you like tea, especially if you like hot tea, that really does just like warm you up in all the ways, then check out that tea. Okay, so on with the actual video. What is tarot and where did it originate? It actually originated in 15th century Europe and Italy. It was originally known as trionfi, which means triumph, and it was just a card game, just playing cards. It spread from Europe to Germany, I believe, France, all of the, just everywhere, I believe. And I think most of those games are actually still played today. However, in the 18th century, something changed and people began using it as a divination tool, and that is what we know today as tarot. So, yeah, 18th century. I would have expected it to be more recent than that even, but it's pretty interesting, right? I think so. There are 21 trump cards that make up the major arcana part of tarot reading. Now, major arcana just means greater secrets. So these are the cards that are going to give you the most information. They are the cards that are going to delve the deepest into your situation. So in order, they are the Magician, the High Priestess, the Empress, the Emperor, the Hierophant, the Lovers, the Chariot, Strength, the Hermit. Sorry, I'm reading from my laptop again because, you know, you just need it for notes. Anyway, the Hermit, Wheel of Fortune, Justice, the Hanged Man, Death, Temperance, the Devil, the Tower, the Star, the Moon, the Sun, Judgment, the World, and then there is one more card which is unnumbered, and it is the Fool. It either represents 0 or it can represent 22, but I think most people use it to represent 0. So what does that mean? Each one of those cards has a meaning attached to it. And depending on how you draw that card, meaning upright or upside down, will depend or will change what the card means. Upside down is not always bad, and upright is not always good. That just depends on the card and the cards that are drawn with it. Let's move into the minor arcana or lesser secrets part of the deck, which is comprised of 56 cards. And they're split into 4 suits. Now, typically, those are wands, pentacles, cups, and swords. However, that can change depending on your specific deck. If it's a more artistic deck, there can be different suits, depending, which I'll talk about when I get to my actual cards. But typically, it's those 4 suits, and there are 14 cards per suit. 10 numbered cards, and then there are also 4 court cards, so king, queen, knight, and page. And again, knight or a page can vary. Sometimes it's knave or jack, I believe, but I think I've personally seen page more often. So yeah, and that's really the basis of that's what the deck is comprised of. A total of 78 cards, 56 minor arcana, and the rest is all major arcana. And now I want to talk about my personal decks, how I use them, how I cleanse them, charge them, all of that, and then talk about some spreads. So let's get into that, I suppose. That's the fun part of the video. So before we get into my actual decks, I would like to talk about how you come to own tarot cards. There are a lot of people who say you should never buy your own deck. They should be gifted to you. That's the only proper way to do it. I don't agree. I think however you can get tarot cards, great, wonderful. Not everyone knows someone who is willing to buy them, those kinds of things, especially if you've grown up in a hyper-religious household. That probably isn't going to happen, so you're going to have to purchase your own. And I think that's perfectly fine. I do not think that affects the read. I personally don't think so. That being said, all of my card decks have been gifted to me because everybody knows me and who I am. So yeah, buy your own cards if that's what you need to do. Perfectly fine. Enough nonsense. The first deck I ever received is this. It is the Radiant Rider-Waite Tarot deck. Rider-Waite is one of the well-known, I think maybe the major tarot card brand. The Radiant, I believe, is just, the cards are super colorful. I don't think there's anything else special about them. But yeah, I received those a few years back. And honestly, they're my favorite. I find I connect with them the best. However, I do have two other decks, which I think are cool. I don't work with them enough, I think, but I have this deck as well. It is the Halloween deck by Kipling West. It is a very cool deck. The artwork is beautiful. I don't connect with it that well for some reason. And then the last one is my newest set, which actually my older sister and my nephew, not sure why that stopped recording, but as I was saying, this is my last deck. My sister and my nephew got these for me, so thank you, Jody and Colin. I love you guys. But it is a Game of Thrones deck. I've not used these very much at all, but the artwork is super cool. If you're into Game of Thrones, I would definitely check these out. It comes with a little booklet and I can't remember. I think there's something else in there. Deck, and it says deck and guidebook, so I guess. But yeah, those are my decks. Again, my preference is the Rider-Waite set. If you're a beginner just getting your first deck, I recommend these. They're standard suits, just everything is standard, so it's very easy to learn with these, in my opinion. When you get your first deck of cards, or any deck of cards, there are definitely some things you should do. You want to cleanse them, first of all, because you have no idea who else has touched them. You have no idea the energy in the shop where they were stored, the factory in which they were made. So you absolutely want to clean them, and there are several ways you can do that. Of course, you can smoke cleanse them with incense or things like rosemary. There's that. That's honestly what I do. It's my preference. But you can also place them under a full moon, like in direct moonlight overnight. That cleanses them. You can set crystals around them. That will cleanse them just fine. There are many different methods. Whatever your preferred cleansing method is will absolutely work to cleanse your cards. Just maybe don't, like, submerge them in water or anything crazy. The next step is going to be to charge your cards with your energy. And there are, again, a few ways you can do this. There are passive ways, and then there's like the initial way, which for me is very simple. I just kind of hold them in my hands, I close my eyes, and I basically meditate with them, fill them with my intentions, my energies, and all of that good stuff. Whatever you believe in is how you charge them. And then the passive ways of charging are to sleep with them beside your bed or even under your pillow. You can carry them with you in a bag or whatever works for you. Those things help the cards to connect with you, to learn you. And again, these are a divination tool. These are something that we believe connect us with the unseen. So you want to connect with them as closely as you possibly can. You want to feel comfortable using them. You want to become attached to your card. The next thing after cleansing and charging is, again, I guess it's more to keep them clean after you've done those two things. So you don't necessarily have to do those repeatedly if you don't want to. This is something I do to keep them clean. And that is, before I shuffle them, I will take the deck in my hand and I will use my dominant hand. Sorry, I have my remote to record with, but I will hold my cards in my non-dominant hand and take my dominant hand and just 1, 2, 3. Blow out any of the remaining negative energy, and honestly that's always worked really well for me. I know it looks kind of silly, but again, I'm visualizing any residual negative energy just blowing right off the cards, getting knocked loose and then blown out. And I have good luck with that. You can find your own way of doing that, but that's just very simple and it's what I prefer. Alright, so shuffling the cards. I personally always shuffle them to the left. 1, 2, and 3 times. After that, you can place your decks on a table or whatever you're using. Cut them 3 times, you know, I can't do it here, but, and then just layer them together. After that, you're ready to do whatever reading you're going to do. And that's where we get into talking about tarot spreads. Personally, as a beginner, I would suggest doing a 1-card draw, and my preferred way of doing that, spread the cards out on your tabletop. Tell the person to pick the very first card they're drawn to. The first card that speaks to them, give that card to you. I like for the people to touch my cards personally. I think it helps them connect better. So that's just my personal thing. Not everyone likes other people touching their cards. I'm personally okay with it. Once the person selects their card, you can read it in a couple of different ways. You can, let's say I'm drawing a card for you. I've drawn the Two of Cups upright. So I could look at this card. There is a man and a woman, and it looks like they are exchanging goblets. And I can read that intuitively. I could say, oh, you know, a harmonious relationship, everything looks good, they both look interested and happy, it looks like a harmonious exchange. And that's an intuitive read. I could say, oh, it's loving partnership or friendship that's blossoming, things like that. Or you can just Google it. You can just look up the card, which may not sound as legitimate, but if it works for you, it works for you. And again, I'm no shame. Like, you do whatever works for you. The card means what the card means. So if you look it up and it says it means blah, 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 the person can't assume that you just happen to know something about them. The internet cut out. But the internet says what it says. So the internet says this card represents, you know, again, love and trust in relationships and all of that kind of stuff, and the person happens to be going into a new relationship and they've been wondering if they should or if they shouldn't, this card is what it is. The internet says what it says. You aren't personalizing that. You aren't changing it depending on what you think they want to hear. You are telling them what the internet says in an unbiased way. So I think if that's what you need to do, that's what I do, honestly. Very rarely do I do intuitive reads, and I am an intuitive empath. I just prefer reading from the internet. That way people can't assume me of knowing them or, you know, finding that information out somehow. Completely unbiased. That's how I like to do reads. After you've done your single card read, if the person feels like they need more clarity, you can continue in that fashion. Spread the cards out, have them pick the first card that their eye is drawn to, give it to you, and you can read those as clarifying cards, and you can kind of do that as many times as you need. Within reason, eventually you'll just start getting nonsense. But yeah, so that's how you would like do a single card read, is you would use clarifying cards to expand upon the original point. The next most simple spread would be the past, present, and future spread, and it works largely the same way. You spread out all your cards, you have them pick 3, you know, you take the first card, that's past, second card is present, and then the third card is future, and you just read them like that. And that's it. It's pretty simple once you know what you're doing. And there are a million more spreads out there. I typically stick to these 2 because they're kind of the easiest to do, but you can Google it or look on Pinterest and find pretty much spreads for any time of year, any occasion. So guys, I think I've covered everything I wanted to cover in this video. If you have any questions, leave them down below. I will happily try to answer them. Again, I've been doing tarot for about, I think 4 years. 4 years. And unfortunately, sometimes it's been very accurate, and fortunately, sometimes it's been very accurate. So let me know if you're interested in me doing a tarot reading for you. Message me, and I will definitely get back to you on that. If not, I hope you enjoyed the video. Interact with me. Give it a thumbs up. Give it a thumbs down, leave a comment, share it if you know someone who's into tarot or looking to get into tarot. But either way, whether you do or you don't, I hope you guys have a great day. Be kind to yourself and be kind to others. Stay safe, and yeah, bye!